Jeffrey Dahmer was an American serial killer born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on May 21, 1960, to Lionel and Joyce Dahmer. He was described by his parents as energetic and happy, a kid that any parent would dream to have. Following a double hernia surgery and multiple moves by the family, Dahmer's personality flipped as he became antisocial and awkward. Attempts were made by his parents to socialize him in order to get him back to the way he was, but their efforts were never successful and he continued to seclude himself from kids his age. He was 14 when he began having sexual fantasies about other boys. Those fantasies soon became dark as they developed into him wanting to lay next to an unconscious body and use it for sexual desires. In order to drown out these thoughts, Dahmer became a heavy drinker at the age of 14, bringing hard liquor to school with him and getting intoxicated as early as 8 in the morning, claiming it was his medicine. His first murder was committed soon after high school graduation in 1971 when he picked up a hitchhiker, Stephen Hicks, and took him home. He proceeded to get Hicks drunk and strike him over the head with a blunt object along with strangling him in order to kill him. Hicks was then pulverized, dissected, dismembered, and being buried in Dahmer's backyard. This was Dahmer's first taste of blood and would develop into his 17-victim killing spree spanning from 1971 to 1991. These are his victims. Many of his later murders involve necrophilia, cannibalism, and the permanent preservation of the body parts. Typically, all are part of the skeleton. By the summer of 1991, Dahmer had developed a schedule of one victim a week, murdering them all in the same fashion. He soon began theorizing how he could turn his victims into zombies in order to have them be a completely submissive partner. Trying out various experiments on 3 of his victims, he began his process by drilling holes in the heads of the men that led to the brain, injecting hydrochloric acid and boiling water into that area. In later investigations, the trauma in the brain showed that these men were still alive when Dahmer experimented on them. Later admitting that he was trying to keep them alive for sexual needs, one of the men lived for about 3 days before succumbing to his wounds, making Dahmer seek different ways of zombifying his victims. On July 22, 1991, Dahmer lured Tracy Edwards into his apartment with the offer of paying him in order to take nude photos of him. Edwards agreed and soon found himself being forced into Dahmer's bedroom with a butcher knife. He was able to disarm Dahmer and flee from the complex, flagging down police officers and leading them back to Dahmer's estate. When confronted by police, Dahmer admitted to threatening him, stating that the knife was in the bedroom. Upon further investigation, they discovered a freshly severed head in the fridge with 3 more around the apartment, along with 7 skulls, a human heart in the freezer, and 3 torsos dissolving in acid solution in a 57-gallon drum. When asked, Dahmer soon admitted to his gruesome acts and divulged his sadistic torture of his victims to authorities. On February 15, 1992, Dahmer was convicted of 15 of the 16 murders he had committed in Wisconsin, being sentenced to 15 years of life imprisonment. He was later sentenced to a 16-term in life imprisonment for an additional homicide committed in Ohio. He began serving his time in the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, Wisconsin. During his beginning years, he began expressing remorse for his actions and wished for death upon himself. Even describing himself as a born-again Christian, Dahmer still continued to his antisocial ways even in a public prison, requesting that he be placed in a single-cell block and spending most of his time there. On November 28, 1994, after only serving 3 years of his sentence, Dahmer was attacked by an inmate with a metal rod whilst cleaning the prison showers. He was found still alive but died on his way to the hospital due to severe head trauma. Overall, the murders of Jeffrey Dahmer can be described as those done in a sadistic manner, and it's sad to think that a lovable, active child grew up to become an antisocial murderer.